Wow, there are some good games this week. Probably better than any other games that have ever been on Crowdfunding Countdown before. And I guess you're going to have to watch the whole video to find out which ones they are. And also that I'm lying and they're all barely mediocre. I'm Chris George, this is Room and Board, and we are back with another episode of Crowdfunding Countdown where we take a look at every single board game campaign finishing up on crowdfunding platforms this week. It's mainly Indiegogo, but you know, there are a few others, none of which will ever be as good as Butter Princess. And if you thought that we weren't going to talk about Butter Princess, which I may enjoy even more than being a wicked bad boy, well then obviously you are new to this channel. In which case, hello and welcome. Come on in, the water's warm, but not as warm as the butter. But first, we have our new patrons to thank. Thank you so much, Reed and TJ, for jumping on board. Being the latest people added to the roomies, the roommates, the roomiacs. Team No Money No Brains. Yes, I believe that we can get that trending. I'm constantly honored by those of you who decide to go the extra mile and support the channel on Patreon. It really does mean a lot. I use honored quite deliberately because that's what it is. I am honored. I am your honor. I am a judge. I am judging you for your expensive Kickstarter purchases. Please come over to Discord Therapy right away, where we definitely don't talk about all the other cool games that exist out there that you need to purchase or your life will be incomplete. But seriously, thank you so much, all of you, for supporting the channel and continually supporting the channel. You're all the friggin' best, and you make these videos possible. Especially because I'd be too guilty to stop. $2 a month and you get unlimited time and energy from me because I was raised in the Catholic Church. So let's get into the week. We have a pretty light week in terms of games, in terms of substance, not necessarily on the amount of time we'll take. And honestly, the biggest news this week is that Gamefound has finally created a way to filter your search results. You did it, Gamefound! It took you over a year, but you did it. Unfortunately, the ones finishing up over there this week are very far from funding and also don't look that great. But that shouldn't take away from your accomplishments. I was able to find them now, which I think is a huge win. And I'm very proud of you. I mean, BackerKit doesn't even have a proper URL right now. It's just backerkit.com/C. What's the C stand for? Come check out your new fire pit grill, I am assuming. Okay, enough of that. Let's actually get into the week. And first we are actually going to talk about Butter Princess. And yes, mostly because that was my nickname in high school, but little did those Cruella de Villes know, I'm taking it back. Your girl's embracing it. Listen, this is a one-shot, 3 to 6 hour RPG that's based on the Trophy Dark system, which I don't know what that means, and I don't want to know. But I did want to bring it up because I do want to know how you are going to steal that 90-pound butter statue and get away with it. I want to know why this is described as half comedy, half horror, and I want to know what deep-fried monstrosities you will encounter in your quest on this incredible heist, better than any heist I've played in the last few weeks. And if you do too, well, it's $10 for a print-and-play PDF. It's probably worth it, let's be real. Have I mentioned that it's called Butter Princess? So if you are interested in that, you do like RPGs, check it out. Maybe you'll like the system. You'll know much more about it than I will. But obviously I wanted to mention it, and that does finish tomorrow on Tuesday at 11:59 p.m. Moving on to the first game of the week, and the most raised this week, we have the Company of Heroes 2nd edition, and this has raised over $860,000. It might even cross that million bar before it finishes, and that's fairly extraordinary. Especially when this is the quote at the top of the page. "Grandpa, were you a hero in war?" Grandpa said. "No, but I served in a company of heroes. Major Richard Winters." I know there's actually the proper use of the comma, but I just think it's funnier my way, okay? If Grandpa is saying, Grandpa, were you... I don't know. I don't know why I find that funny. Hey, it's better than the other quote that's down the campaign page, which is basically saying that every soldier needs to know how inconsequential this battle truly is in the grand scheme of war. Wait, what? How is that your general's pep talk? All right, soldiers, we're gonna go out there and it's not gonna matter whatsoever, so enjoy shooting the enemy, I guess, and try not to die. Horrible pep talk. Ah, yes, everything you're doing doesn't matter because people will happily take away your rights and freedoms all the time. Anyway, this is a 1 versus 1 sort of skirmish game. It's a war game. It's a war game, but it's a war game that does somewhat interest me because it seems a little bit different from other war games, or I guess my conception of war games. Or I think it is because they have this economic factor to it, which I hear economics and I think Euro, and then I think, oh, maybe I'll be interested in this. Because as you're positioning around the board, it's not just tactical shoot everybody, but you want to control various choke points and spots on the board because those will generate you resources, or they will actually generate you victory points. And it's usually the person to 21 points wins, although you can play to a game of 24 if you really want to get that extra last push of using all of your units that you spent so long to try to create. And it is that pitch of it being a cross between a skirmish game and a resource management game that gets me interested. And so I can definitely see the appeal of this system. I really like that every unit has their own stats and can do different things and has a different movement pattern and can only move depending on where they're facing, if they're a tank, right? It all seems to make sense, and it's all a lot of different stats to manage. But there is so much on the main campaign page. I like that there is a veteran pledge upgrade because this is the second edition. They have incorporated all the feedback of all the playtesters who bought the first game and said, this could be better this way. They've incorporated all the feedback and have come out with this new version. And so you can get an upgraded pledge. It's like $60 US to do that though. Or you can jump right in with a new core pledge that's $99 US, like $128 Canadian, and then you throw shipping on top of that. That's a lot for a tactical skirmish game, but it does seem like you get a decent amount of substance, and you absolutely don't need to get any of their other pledges and add-ons if you're just jumping into this system. It feels overwhelming to me. It kind of puts me off that there is so much content that they're trying to force down your throat. It feels whenever that happens that maybe the base game isn't enough, but I think there's going to be enough interesting units and decisions if you're into this sort of style of game to make just the two-player thing worth your while if that's the route you want to go. For me, it's obviously a bit too pricey and I'm not that interested in it. But if you are, that finishes on Wednesday, July 20th at 1:59 a.m., aka Tuesday night. Moving on to 3 print and plays. Roll and writes. People love roll and writes. There has been a trend on Kickstarter of putting out a print and play roll and write that you can just purchase for $1 to $5, whatever it is. And if you like those sort of things, I don't think you will like this sort of thing. There is definitely rolling and there's definitely tracing, but what these games boil down to are just glorified maps. You're going to just go through a maze, and then you'll get to a spot, and then you'll roll a dice, and did you roll higher than that number? Okay, you can keep on tracing the maze. That's essentially what they all boil down to, and to me that doesn't seem very interesting or very replayable. I will say that the castle one, there is a neat mechanic here because it's double-sided. So you're going to go into one section of the castle, and then you'll pop inside the room, and then you have to travel up and pop outside the room. And I think that concept of flipping the sheet over and back, there's something interesting there. I don't think it's found in this category, but I think somebody could do something cool with that idea. Before looking into this campaign, I was prepared to say, hey, it's just a bunch of print and plays. You can take a chance on it for $5, right? Like, who cares? I don't think you should take a chance on it for $5. These don't, particularly for me, or I think for any gamer or someone who likes games. That sounded harsh. I don't think you'll necessarily be interested in these. There are many other print and play options that you can get, but it is cheap if your kids like mazes and you want to spend $3 on a maze. Well, yeah, go for it. That also finishes Wednesday at 12:01 p.m. Now, next up we have a game called Colossus, which is a solo card game. And this is from the people who brought you the Spirit of Eden, which brought me talking about my Uncle Larry at the all-you-can-eat buffet, getting into his Spirit of Eden. One of my favorite Groner jokes to this day. But this is not the Spirit of Eden. This is Colossus, where you are attempting to climb the big old Colossus Og, because of course that's his name, get to the top, give him a noogie. That'll show him. And this plays very similar to games like Grove, or the other one that Grove's based on, or Veggies. Basically, you're going to draw these cards, and they're going to have 6 symbols on them, and you have to overlap each card, overlapping 2 symbols, and then leaving a bunch of symbols for yourself to then use to combat Og and go against Og's stats. So you'll compare your stats to Og, see if you have enough medallions to weaken Og. Maybe you'll climb up Og. Maybe you'll just grip onto Og. Do many, many things with Og. And then, like I said, when you get to the top, you give his head a little kiss, and you win. You have triumphed over the Colossus. You'll get up there and you will kick his galosses all the way down, so he steps on them with his galoshes and then runs away and goes home because he's tired of being bullied. Yeah, plot twist, you were the villain the entire time. Anyway, this one's 18 euros, $24 Canadian, and it ships for 4 euros because it's pretty small, so it can ship pretty much anywhere for 4 euros. It's 3 euros to France. And so for like 30 bucks Canadian, you can get yourself a solo game. I would probably still want it to be like 20 bucks, but you know, maybe you're interested. And if you are, that finishes up Wednesday at 12:02 p.m. Moving right along, our next thing isn't a board game, but if it was hired by a board game, you might call it board game nepotism, and that's Mystery Dice. And basically the video is a tell-all by a very secretive dice executive. I mean, spoiler alert, it's clearly the person who runs Mystery Dice. You're not even using a voice modulator. People will know who you are. This is not the way to run the Witness Protection Program. Now, this is their second campaign for Mystery Dice, and it's a fun campaign, right? You spend $9 and you get a set of Mystery Dice. Last campaign they put out 50 different designs of dice and 7 weird stuff. That's an exact quote. And people reported that these dice were nearly statistically perfect. That means that they almost rolled correctly. They were nearly statistically perfect. They were dice, you know. They always seem to roll on 6s, or 7s whenever Gambling Jim over there was, oh no, I hope I haven't awakened someone. If he was anyone, it would just be a sort of blurred out cutout. Anyway, Gambling Jim loves his privacy. But yeah, Gambling Jim would always roll a 7, so they were nearly statistically balanced. But the best part about this video is that it's official that their weird stuff approval rating was 84%. And I mean, I don't even have that percentage with Maggie, so that feels pretty high to me. Like I said, it's $9 a set for a random set of dice. And can you see any of the previous dice that they've made? No. But they did do a previous campaign, right? So they should have examples from the No, you don't get to see anything. You give them your $9 and you hope you get something in the shape of a cube. It's only viable to do this in the US, shipping's $5, or it's free if you get 3 sets. Anywhere else like Canada, it's like $22. But they don't show you anything. So, I mean, I'm intrigued. If I like dice and lived in the US, well, hey, I'd probably get a set, or 3. Because, you know, if you gotta get 3, you save on the shipping. It's a perfect deal. Or you can guaranteed get something that you know they're patented D2.0s, aka their coins. And can I also point out, he promised to tell all, and yet he's telling nothing. They're saying nothing. You don't know what you're gonna get. It's like Forrest Gump's chocolate factory. And I'm starting to think more and more that it could be a cult when they finish with that it's not about the dice, it's about the community. It's about the community you build along the way. No, it's not. It's about the dice. You won't even show me your face. What sort of community building is that? No, it's about more than the dice. It's about the friends we rolled down the hills in garbage cans singing renditions of Frozen's Let It Go that we met along the way. That's enough of that. If you want some Mystery Dice, that finishes Wednesday, July 20th at 4 p.m. Next up, we have Stardust Coffee. And this one has funded and not a drop more. And I'm happy for them. I'm really happy that Stardust Coffee has funded. I have a full review on Stardust Coffee sharing my thoughts. Although those thoughts are perfectly encapsulated by the quote that they chose, which is me saying it's a decent game in a smaller box, and because of that box, I imagine it'll stay on my shelf for a decent amount of time. I mean, you're making me think that I didn't like the game and I enjoyed it. Who picked this as a quote? My patrons were joking that no one can ever call me a shill with a quote like that. And so I appreciate the the bump up in faith from the supporters, but you're not doing yourself any favors when I literally say right after, fans of Roll-and Rights will enjoy this game. That's a better quote. And I think it's true. Basically, the game is you're going to try to get as many resources as you can and then fulfill as many coffee orders as you can. You need specific orders to put in the coffee to make the specific coffee and then deliver it at one of the towns, one of the city globes that are at the 4 corners of the galaxy. And so on your turn, you'll pick a dice and you'll use it first for its color and get to move or take resources, then for its number, which you can do multiple things with, and then you can upgrade your ship, use your Stardust to upgrade your ship, and then fight pirates if they're close to you by using whiskey, and get more coffee orders if you've delivered coffee. It's a whole bunch of different things that you can do, and I quite enjoyed it. The price point came in around what I was expecting. It's 28 bucks US, $37 Canadian, plus then shipping 10 to 12 bucks to get it to the US, 21 to 23 to get it to Canada. So for me, after conversion, if I didn't already have a copy, it would cost me like $64 to get to my door, and for that price, absolutely not. I mean, I did enjoy it. It is a good, light game, but it's not worth that much. I want to get in that sort of 35 to 40 range after the shipping, and even that is me being fairly generous. But I am super happy that they funded, and I did enjoy the game, and I think it is a really good lighter game, and especially if you do like those roll and writes and that sort of bingo mechanic or the dice drafting mechanic. You can re-roll the dice and push the pirate track up so that the pirates are more dangerous. There's a lot of interesting things here. I did mention that the rulebook was horrendous, and I don't see that changing with any of the updates that they've posted, but hopefully they will get their translation issues under control and make it accessible for everybody. If you are interested, that finishes up on July 21st at 9:02 a.m. Now, next up we have a game called Last Say, which I intend to have the last say about and not talk about it anymore. And the reason for that is I'm not interested in the unlimited fun that the campaign page suggests. I like my fun in manageable packages, thank you very much. On to the next one, for real, because that's all I want to say about it. Next up we have the Grand Carnival. And in this game you are going to try to build the best carnival. This might be the only legitimate game that we are talking about this week. You're going to do that by putting down tiles which will have grass on them and hammers on them. Like any good carnival, your foundation is grass and hammers, with a little bit of charlatanism and cotton candy. And probably a bindle. Every carnival has got to have a good bindle when you go from town to town. Anyway, you're going to then arrange your tiles effectively so that you have spots to put various attractions that will fit on the hammers, which are the building sites, and not on the grass, because that's where the guests like to walk. And then you're going to try to attract as many guests as possible and have them spend their tickets on your incredible attractions. But the exciting part of this carnival is not the axe throwing or the roller coasters. No, those things are pathetic and are for babies. The exciting part about this carnival is that you get 5 actions on your turn. And this is exciting because every turn you get to choose the ranking of your action. Are you going to do a lower weak action at 1, or are you going to take your best action at 5? And everything you do has a range of what you can accomplish. So obviously if you're using your 5, you can take that tile that's at the end that you wouldn't be able to touch otherwise. But then you can't build an attraction with the size of 5, and then you can't move your guest potentially all the way that you wanted them to move so that they could visit the carnival most effectively. And I really like this idea. I really like this idea of having that conflict within yourself of choosing the size of your action every time. And then at the end of the round, you get to take all your people back and do it all over again. You go on for 7 rounds, 7 days, and then the carnival is over. Because it's a week. 1 round equals a day. If I know one thing about carnivals, or my stepdad Joe, it's that they never stay around for longer than a week. But yeah, it's a really intriguing concept to me. I think that sounds like a very exciting mechanic. And so this is actually a reprint, this campaign, and they're also going to be offering an expansion with the campaign. And the expansion just gives you 7 modules that you can throw into your game whenever you want. Fittingly, 7 modules for 7 days, I assume. And I mean, they must all be fantastic based upon the number alone. I've never known anything horrible to come in a box related to the number 7. Although, one of the modules is clowns, so start your horror fever dreams now. And no, these aren't our favorite friendly juggalo clowns ready to spray soda on you. No, these are carnival meeple clowns. Clowns made of wood that come to life under the cool light of the moon. Oh yeah, it may say in the module that these clowns will keep your guests entertained, but we all know that they're just not letting them leave. It doesn't matter as long as you keep watching the show. Well, that was probably scary. Yeah, to all you call my laugh creepy, that's not a creepy laugh. Clowns have creepy laughs, okay? And they will do whatever it takes to make sure your guests do not leave. And if you love the game, the expansion here actually feels like a great deal. They've upgraded the art for the second printing, and if you want to get all of the upgraded components and the expansion, it's 24 bucks US, 30 bucks Canadian, and it's like $5 shipping. And that feels pretty good, especially when just getting the expansion on its own is 18 bucks US. You just have to pay a little bit more for presumably all the extra tiles. I like that as the deal. For the main game, it's 60 bucks US or $79 Canadian, and that doesn't feel as great because at Board Game Bliss right now, for example, it's being sold for $66 Canadian, although it is sold out. But I assume it might travel along the same price point or a little bit higher depending on the inflation or whatever. So while this game is exciting and the 5 action element feels like a really interesting mechanic and a fun draw to play, I don't think it's a good purchase. Inquire into your local store and do that instead. But if you are interested, check it out. That finishes Thursday, July 21st at 2:15 p.m. Now, next up, we've got something special. The world's most sought-after convention game is here. It didn't fund back in 2019, but it is back for a second time, hotter than Pablo the Pepper himself. This is Spicify, whose tagline is a hot card game for couples and friends that will take you on a journey discovering each other as you've never imagined. I mean, I don't know if you've seen this channel, Spicify, but you can't imagine what I have imagined. I mean, you're just a card game, Spicify. You don't even have dice, not to mention any of the devilish variety. I mean, I don't even want to talk about the game. You know we're all getting it. But I do want to talk about the cinematography and the script of their Kickstarter video. Because the premise, you got these 2 guys sitting on a couch, and the team behind them doesn't know what they should pick from the plethora of options on their shelf. It's either this weird box with a pepper on it, the mascot of Champions, or some World of Warcraft CD-ROMs that I guess you could just throw around. Fine, they're World of Warcraft books, so I guess you could just throw them around. But the 2 horny little toads who came to this party, that clearly everyone's trying to have a good time, they're saying, we don't want to play a card game. Nah, we want something with a little bit more action. Oh, do we have the card game for you, good sirs? And then we enter into this man's mind like some Bertolt and Reiner fan fiction. Is it happening? Now? Right here? Oh, you can bet it is. And then we proceed to see all the sorts of sexy things that can happen when you play Spicify. And of course, it is the team at the end with no clothes that are the winners of the game. Spoiler alert, it's the people who have less clothes on are going to naturally have more points. But as a side note, and I really think this is the takeaway from this game, is that this video was written and directed by a man named Fabio, who got the job based solely on his name. I guarantee it, and I also guarantee that it was the right decision. Because you see, Spicify is more than a game that you should play at every convention open play area. It's an experience. It is the perfect way to learn things about your friends and your partner and your future orgy members. Things that you never dared to ask without this card game. Because you see, according to the campaign page, Fabio has tested this, direct quote, with many ... many friends. Fabio has never asked me to play test with him though, so I am mildly offended by this. And I'm not quite sure why this game exists in what is just clearly the warm-up act to an orgy. But I have a sneaking suspicion that this game was created in accordance to Fabio joining a whole bunch of game nights and realizing that he could exploit the, well, we gotta play everyone's game once rule. No gatekeeping. That's Table Talk episode number 5. You gotta play it. You gotta play it once. And I also love, this campaign page is just a goldmine. I also love that on the campaign page it says, you know what, you could play this with couples, or you could play it with 4 to 16 people. Fabio, 16 is the threshold? I get tired at 3. Anyway, don't worry, this is not a drinking game, even though Fabio suggests an extra sip of your favorite drink could boost your performance. And don't worry also if you thought the rules were unclear, they've got some great iconography. It'll always tell you on the card if clothes are allowed or not. Like the one card, dance intimately while Fabio watches, no clothes allowed. Or the other card, video call the designer with this Zoom link right here, no clothes allowed. Or my personal favorite, cook us all up some bacon. Ugh, but no clothes allowed. Now that's spicy and dangerous. Anyway, the video finishes with us zooming out from Horny Boy's head, showing us that he was just envisioning what was to happen, but honestly, judging by the cards, he's got it pretty much bang on the money, which coincidentally is what Fabio will be doing with all of his Kickstarter earnings. Watch out, Germany, because Italy is making a case to be the #1 convention hotspot destination. Or actually, they are just throwing their own convention after Essen called Effen. Anyway, that's enough about Spicify. That campaign, and probably Fabio, finishes July 22nd at 12 p.m. Ooh, gotta cool down after that. Next up, we have a game called Neko Boss. And Neko is, of course, Japanese for cat, which I knew on my own, and not because it's the first phrase of the campaign page. Just let me have this, Neko Boss. I know 10 words. Anyway, this is just a small little abstract game. You're gonna place your cats all over this grid, and then on your turn you get to move a cat onto another cat and make a cat stack. Make a fat cat stack. And you can move any stack that you control if your cat is on top, but you have to move it the number of spaces according to the number of tokens in your fat cat stack. And also you always have to move in a straight line. So you got to juggle where do you position your cats at the beginning, and then how do you move them and arrange them so that nobody can claim your stack, basically. Have the most fat cat stacks at the end of the game to win. And I mean, abstract games are fine. This one looks sweet enough, but I really think my fondness for this campaign is because of the designer thanking his friend Tetsuro for letting him use his song that he composed for the designer's wedding in the Kickstarter video. It's like one of the most wholesome things I've ever seen. And juxtaposing these end credits with the previous end credits, I mean, Fabio, you could learn a thing or two from these credits, you horn dog. The game itself, though, unfortunately feels like something that I would play and have fun and then, you know, never touch again. But after shipping to Canada, the Kawaii 2-player version is like 33 bucks. And that's not horrible because the pieces are made of ceramic. So if you're interested, check it out. That finishes Friday the 22nd at 10:52 p.m. And suddenly, I mean, I almost said, and finally, we've gotten to our last campaign of the week, but it's fairly sudden. This is probably the shortest crowdfunding countdown of all time, even with how much I tried to milk from it. But finally, our last campaign of the week, we have Bahg Chall, which is a game from Nepal and might be the first physical pay-what-you-want game that I've ever seen. I know that there was Clash of Decks. It wasn't pay what you want, it was just free. It was said, pay for the shipping and we'll send you a deck, and then try to get you on the hook with it. But yeah, here they're saying, pay what you want, whatever you think it's worth. We're trying to resurrect this sort of ancient game that people don't really talk about, but is still very popular in Nepal. And I hope that they don't lose money on this, because it seems like a really cool concept. And it's really that the creators just love the game and they want to enable it to continue to exist. And so basically this game, similar to Neko Boss, is an abstract strategy game where one player will play the 4 tigers and the other player will play the 20 goats. And the tigers start on the board and the goats slowly come onto the board. And it's the goal of the tigers to eat 5 goats. And it's the goal of the goats to ensnare the tigers and make sure that they can't hop over the goats, because that's how they eat them. There must have been a typo in the translation from Nepal to English, or I forgot the other G. And this game, I mean...
Wise guy, looks like the second
Pablo,
greatest game in the world.
This is a surprise, twice in 1 week.
Yeah, you shut your mouth, wise guy. I'm here to make sure that people get this
Well,
game.
I wasn't going to say that they shouldn't.
Anyone who doesn't deserve to be whacked, I'll turn you into jelly.
Still sore about that, huh?
Humans are friggin' monsters. I never knew pepper jelly
Anyway,
was
yeah, it does seem like a good little game. I mean, I never knew you were so passionate about abstracts, Pablo.
Are you kidding me? Look at this amazing little graphic here.
Wait a minute.
Does everything you need to know.
I know I've seen that somewhere.
I got family. Plus the creators, look at them. They're so kind and caring, saving the
Pablo,
game. They're like my mom.
You shill.
What'd you just call me, wise guy?
I'm sorry. I didn't.
You better. You shut your dirty mouth. You don't. Nobody calls Pablo.
Well,
that.
okay. This price, it's pay what you want. So you could pay $1 US, but
you could pay it.
But I wouldn't pay that much.
What are you going to pay for?
People are paying on average $10.50 US. It's around 7 to 12 in the add-on section, depending on how many copies you buy in bulk.
Yeah,
so I feel like that seems like a fair.
You're gonna pay for it, wise guy. Stop talking about
I mean, I hadn't even decided that I was getting a copy.
Yeah, you're probably gonna pay something like $500
I do like pay what you...
to $100, maybe $200.
Yeah, I guess I could pay that.
Yeah, that's too low, wise guy. You gotta pay higher.
You were the one suggesting I pay
higher, like $1 million or $2 million. And why don't you get yourself a copy of some chilies while you're at it? That's how it feels good.
Definitely check it out for sure. It seems like a nice production. Paying what you want sounds cool. Plus, it comes in this cool little Bahg Chall. If you're interested, that finishes next Tuesday at 11 a.m. That's it. That's the week. Those are the things finishing up this week. Now, every week I do a pick for me and a pick for you. And this week, I'm going to go a little bit against the norm here, and I think I have to sort of combine them and do a pick for me and you and you and you. And that, of course, is Spicify. But that aside, I do actually have a pick for me and a pick for you this week, which is strange because it was a pretty horrendous week. But the pick for me is Grand Carnival. I was actually quite taken with the mechanics of the 5 actions. It seems like a simple little game. The polyomino puzzle feels cool in terms of setting yourself up and thinking ahead. It feels fairly fun and looks like it would be easy for people to get on board. It's not something that I would buy at this price, like I said, because of the shipping, and it's going to be cheaper in stores. But yeah, that one does look fun, and I'm happy they're doing a reprint because I probably wouldn't have looked into it if they weren't. And then, of course, my pick for you is going to be pay what you want and get a copy of Bahg Chall. Really. I have backed for a copy. I feel like I should reach out and say, like, listen, what's the actual cost here? At what price do you lose money? I think that would be pretty significant data and important to have, because that's what I would like to pay. I don't want to undercut it. I'm not going to pay $1, even though that's an option. I don't feel right paying that. And it seems, you know what, to have like a little small game in a pouch as an abstract game that you can pull out, I'm willing to take a chance on it. So I'll probably pay like $10. I'll pay the average or whatever it is. And especially because shipping for that one is $3. I don't think I mentioned it because I don't know, there was some reason someone else was on screen or something. Anyway, that would be my pick for you, is check that one out, because pay what you want for a little abstract that you can carry around. Yeah, pay what you want. It's a cool experiment, and I'm happy to see that the average is around the $10, because I don't want them to lose money, because they're cool people and they, you know, they're one of the reasons Pablo exists. And as much as he threatens to murder me, well, sometimes I'm fond of him. Anyway, this is a quick week. Thanks for being here. Let me know what you are excited about. I'm excited about a few things. Tomorrow there's going to be a few things launching, so that's cool. I keep on putting this out. One of my patrons was like, yeah, you seem really excited about things. I'm like, no, it's actually just because I know of things that are upcoming. Because usually I'm only focused on the tail end and doing my research at that time and not really being aware of what's coming out soon. But now I do know, and so I think, oh, I think these might be things people will be interested in, and I look forward to covering them when they're finishing. So yeah, as always, keep me posted. Let me know what you're excited about. Tell me a story or a joke, or do what you want. Leave a comment for the algorithm, hit the like button, all that sort of stuff. Thanks for being here. This was a fun week, even though the games were bad. So I appreciate being allowed to be here with all of you, and that's it. My name's Chris George, and you know what? I don't have a catchphrase. I really thought one was gonna come out there. But I do have a goal in my life now, and that goal is to be Fabio's favorite playtester from here on out. Of course it's Fabio. Oh, the glee that was on my face when I saw that it was written and directed by Fabio. No last name, just Fabio. Exceptional. I feel like a true butter princess after all. I'll see you in the next one.